Trump's tirade, wild new details tonight, seeming to back up part of Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony to the January 6th committee. Two Secret Service staffers now saying that for more than a year, stories have been circulating inside the agency about Trump's behavior before and on January 6th, including how an angry Donald Trump demanded to go to the Capitol with his supporters after his speech near the White House. And when the Secret Service said no and Trump didn't get his way, he's said to have berated his security detail, saying, according to these sources, something similar to, "I'm the effing president of the United States. You can't tell me what to do," which aligns with what Hutchinson said under oath that she was told.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president. Take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Did Mr. Engel correct or disagree with any part of the story from Mr. Ornato?
Mr. Engel did not correct or disagree with any part of the story.
Did Mr. Engel or Mr. Ornato ever after that tell you that what Mr. Ornato had just said was untrue?
Neither Mr. Ornato nor Mr. Engel told me ever that it was untrue.
Now, while neither source says they heard about Trump trying to grab the steering wheel, they did say this, according to our reporting. Nobody said Trump assaulted him. They said he tried to lunge over the seat. For what reason? Nobody had any idea. We're also learning new details about the attempts to influence Hutchinson's testimony. Multiple sources telling CNN someone on behalf of Mark Meadows contacted Hutchinson before she testified. And that is crucial because Hutchinson was one of his top aides. And we now know that both of the examples of potential witness intimidation presented during the hearing, both were directed at Hutchinson. And what was the message? Listen.
This is a call received by one of our witnesses. Quote, "A person let me know you have your deposition tomorrow. He wants me to let you know he's thinking about you. He knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for your deposition."
Hutchinson did do the right thing. She testified under oath, which everyone agrees takes courage. You can't say the same, though, for Donald Trump or his allies who've now launched a smear campaign against her. Manu Raju is out front live for us on Capitol Hill this evening. Manu, first, what else can you tell us about this call to Hutchinson that was allegedly done at the behest of her former boss, Mark Meadows?
Yeah, we are learning that those two episodes that Liz Cheney described in vivid detail in the hearing about outreach to Hutchinson that suggests potential witness intimidation, both of those did go to Cassidy Hutchinson. They did not reveal the identity of the witness who received that. And we are also learning that this came from an intermediary of Mark Meadows, then White House Chief of Staff. Now, in one of those messages that Cheney read aloud, she said that he knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for your deposition. Now, what our colleagues here at CNN are told is that the person that they're referring to there was Meadows. Meadows expected her to do, quote, the right thing. Now, Meadows' camp responded to this reporting, saying that there was never an attempt to intimidate Hutchinson. They said, according to the spokesperson, Ben Williams, said no one from Meadows' camp, himself or otherwise, ever sought to intimidate or shape her conversations with the committee. But we do know, Kate, that this committee is still investigating this issue. They asked every witness who comes before them whether or not they have received any efforts to intimidate or tamper with their testimony in any way. And we do also know that the committee is thinking about whether to refer any of these to the Justice Department for potential prosecution. So this still is a major issue they plan to investigate in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, it's still an open-ended question of what's going to happen with this. And also, Manu, based on this new reporting about the Secret Service, What does this all mean for Trump aide Tony Ornato, who apparently is willing to testify and is also disputing this testimony from Hutchinson?
Yeah, it's unclear exactly what Ornato will say if he does agree to testify under oath. We've only heard from unnamed officials who say they dispute that he relayed the story to Cassidy Hutchinson to describing this altercation that allegedly occurred on January 6th. But what this reporting does show is that this was an issue that was discussed by law enforcement, by Secret Service in the aftermath of January 6th. It was well known that there was an angry Donald Trump who apparently wanted to go to the Capitol. And that is one of the key things that has not been disputed here, is that Donald Trump wanted to go to the Capitol on January 6th, the day, as he knew that his supporters apparently were armed that day. That's what Cassidy Hutchinson said in her testimony. And one person who could corroborate a lot of these key details too, Kate, is Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel at the time, who has been subpoenaed by this committee, who we're told is willing to testify in some limited fashion, potentially behind the scenes. And he also warned about Trump going to the Capitol, that it could open up to them to all sorts of potential criminal exposure.
All right, Manu, thank you so much for that. Out front with me now is Ellie Honig, former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and Jonathan Wackrow, former Secret Service agent, and David K. Johnston, a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist who's covered Donald Trump for more than 30 years. Ellie, so you have these two different Secret Service sources telling a very similar account to what Cassidy Hutchinson testified to about the SUV ride. How does this add to the picture?
Well, Kate, on the narrow question of did Donald Trump lash out inside that SUV, it really started out as a contest of credibility between Cassidy Hutchinson on one hand and Tony Ornato on the others. You had Hutchinson testifying under oath that I didn't see what happened, but Tony Ornato told me this story about Trump sort of having this tantrum and lunging for the steering wheel inside the SUV. You had Tony Ornato, not under oath, and through spokespeople saying no such thing ever happened, and she essentially made that up out of whole cloth. Well, now we're learning that a story that's substantially similar, not identical, but quite similar to what Cassidy Hutchinson said, has been circulating and well-known inside Secret Service. And that is strong corroboration for Cassidy Hutchinson. And Kate, if we zoom out one level, the key aspects of what Hutchinson testified to, that Trump knew that crowd was armed, that he pointed them towards the Capitol, that he desperately wanted to go to the Capitol, those remain uncontested and strongly corroborated.
And Jonathan, as someone who knows all about the culture of the Secret Service yourself, if something like this did happen, I mean, how quickly would word travel within the agency?
So listen, there's a saying inside of the Secret Service that there are no secrets within the Secret Service. And, to that point, something as, explosive as this would fly through the Secret Service circles pretty quickly. But I mean, I think we have to just take a quick step back and go, does this surprise anybody? I mean, we all know that the president had the intent on January 6th to go to the U.S. Capitol. And once he was told, did anyone really expect that he wouldn't be angry? I mean, so I think that this is just confirming what everyone believes, is that, he was very angry on that day that he did not go up and join his supporters. But the point we have to look at is, why did he not go? Why did the Secret Service say no? And the reason being is because they did a quick assessment, a security assessment. Could they bring the president up there? And the determination was no, that the threats were too elevated, that the likelihood was high that violence would erupt, and the consequences were too great. And that's why the Secret Service did not bring the president up to the Capitol on that day.
And because we well know that Donald Trump himself, according to this testimony, knew that there were weapons in the crowd and also did nothing to try to help and assist the law enforcement officers that were trying to protect the Capitol at that exact time.